So before we start, of course, if you have any questions during the month for Dexaran, you can always go directly to our Telegram at Dex223. Ask your question there. We have many different groups in different languages for French, Italian, German, and many others where you can find your place, your community for Dex223, and have together all your questions answered during these monthly recaps. We'll start today by introducing the man behind the code himself, as always, Dexaran. Welcome to our Twitter space today to have a monthly recap. Thank you again for being here.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for a little delay. We had some technical problems with this space. So let's start by saying a few words about the activity during this month. First of all, we deployed the prototype during the previous months, and we continue with the testing. We received more than 100 issue and bug reports, and we keep them in a document that will be published once we are done with it. And we will obviously fix all the issues that were reported. But I will say that this is not the highest priority for us right now, because we are working on auto-listing integration. And whenever we can focus on the introduction of the auto-listing, this is our top priority, because we want to proceed to testing of auto-listing as soon as possible. There will be, I hope, less bugs than were with the main contracts, but it's still prone to the same problems, and there will be a lot of bug reports related to auto listing. So we want to release features first, and then we will proceed to bug fixing, and it will be solved in a major release of the more stable version of the Dex223 after the auto listing feature is completed. So prototype testing is going well. Thank you everyone who participated in the testing and who tried it with the test tokens. You may notice that we have updated it once. We had some test tokens that were replaced with a newer version during the testing. So this is already a second iteration of our testing. Second topic is margin trading UI and margin trading in general. Margin trading UI is being developed. I will share the details in the written report as soon as I complete it, most likely on 4th next month. The margin trading UI is, I would say, 80% complete. We don't have some pages finalized, but it's more or less final. And I will highlight the details on the implementation in a written report, because it is quite difficult to talk about technical details in audio form. But a few words about the margin trading, why it is important for us, and what it is in general. So what is margin trading? It is trading with borrowed funds, and it is mainly important because it is more like a high risk, high reward feature. Your profits and incomes are multiplied by the leverage if you are trading with more funds than you actually have. However, you have high risk because you can lose everything. With spot trading, you can't lose the funds that you actually own, because with spot trading, if you bought one Bitcoin and its price will go down 10 times, you will still hold one Bitcoin. And if its price will recover, you will recover from your losses. With margin trading, this is not possible. As soon as the price drops to some threshold, or it goes in the reverse direction of your trade up to some liquidation threshold, your position is liquidated and you lose all the funds without any opportunity to recover. So this is more risky, and this is a feature for more professional traders. And the second important feature of margin trading is that it enables traders to earn on the bearish markets, which is very, very important for us, because the bearish market phase is quite long, as you all may know. With spot trading, if you know that some asset will go down, you have nothing to do with it. You can't actually earn on it. If you know that Bitcoin will go down for 2 months, you can sell your Bitcoin, but after you sold, you can't earn anything on this, even if you are right. With margin trading, you can borrow Bitcoins, sell them, and when it will be the time to return Bitcoins, you will have to return them, but at a lower price. And the price difference between the entry of your trade and the point of time where you return Bitcoins is your profit. So this enables traders to earn on bearish markets. There is a bit of a problem with margin trading implementation in decentralized exchanges in general, because as I said earlier, there is some scenario at which the position has to be liquidated. So yeah, if you make a trade and you borrow funds for making this trade on margin market, and if the cumulative value of the funds stored in your borrowed position is approaching a certain value where there is a risk that you will not be able to pay back the loan, your funds are confiscated and delivered to the provider of the funds, and you are actually liquidated. And this process needs to be executed at the right time, and it is quite a complicated process. And exchanges like Bybit or BitMEX, they have a resource-consuming, I would say, and complicated liquidation engine that runs all these operations, and it is totally not possible to implement it in smart contracts. There is no way, and even if Ethereum virtual machine performance will be increased 10,000 times, it will still not be possible. So it's completely
I understand
the contract scope. So our approach is to assume that there is some off-chain provider of the liquidations, not provider, but actually the operator off-chain service that will oversee all the positions and liquidate them when there is a time to liquidate them. Another problem with smart contracts is that a smart contract cannot do anything on its own. It can't execute any automatic operations. A smart contract always requires someone to interact with it. And once it is called, the smart contract can only verify some conditions and reply yes, no, and do something if the conditions are met, or refuse to do something. And in this case, you will pay for gas and nothing will happen. So in our implementation of margin trading, we do not implement liquidation engine in smart contracts because it is not possible. And we are just building the system of incentives for off-chain liquidation executing services to interact with our smart contracts and call liquidations on our position, on our change, in exchange for some fixed fee. And this is kind of a new approach in the market, because I never seen any other exchange implementing it like this. They always rely on off-chain liquidation engines that they run themselves. Let's see how it will work. And we are still moving in this direction. I will highlight more technical details in the written report. And we will most likely have a separate video for margin trading where I will go over the mechanics, over our limitations, and the specifics of implementation of exactly our margin trading in Dex223. And I will showcase the UI and guide listeners through the process of how it will look for the users. So you click this button, this happens, then you have two options, 1, 2, and it will be explained. So next is the auto listing feature. The smart contracts are completed. We are deploying it on Cipolle testnet, and we already have one auto-listing contract deployed, but the UI is not integrated with it. And we need to build a relay between the contract and the UI. So the auto-listing will consist of 3 parts. The smart contract, actually there will be multiple smart contracts. There will be auto-listing registry. There will be a margin trading registry. This is a contract that everyone is listening to. I mean, the exchange should be listening to this contract. And if there is any other service that relies on our out-listing, they need to be listening to the registry smart contract. And there will be auto-listing contracts. Auto-listing contracts can tell the registry to emit some event on their behalf. And everyone can deploy their own auto-listing contract. And they all need to communicate with the registry. We will have 2 official main auto-listing contracts for each chain. One will be completely free, so it will be like a trash bin of all the tokens that can be created, because it will have no restrictions, no requirements. You create a token and you can list it in this auto-listing contract straight away with no due diligence, and it will be displayed to the user if they enable it in the UI. Maybe there is some reason to disable it if you don't want to see all these thousands of tokens that you never heard of. And there will be a paid auto-listing contract. It lists tokens without any restrictions as well, but it requires some anti-spam fee. This fee is set by D223 token holders, and the amount of funds collected by these fees is redistributed among the token holders as well. So they set the fee and they earn profits when this fee is paid. These 2 contracts will be supported by our interface by default, and everyone will have an option to enable and disable it. So when you enable these auto-listing contracts, all the tokens that are listed there will be displayed in your user interface. However, there is a relay between the contract and the UI, because we don't want to read all the token contracts from the auto-listing registry, because this is quite long process, and it can overwhelm nodes that you are communicating with, and it creates some problems and delays for the user. However, this is a good option for some chains where RPC nodes are not as widely available as on Ethereum. So for small chains, we will consider this approach. But for Ethereum, we are developing a relay. There is some such thing called subgraph that listens to events on some contract. And in this case, we will set it up to listen for events on auto-listing registry. And this thing will know everything about the tokens listed in all the auto-listing contracts that communicated with the registry. So basically, it will just store the same information as registry stores. And our UI will call this subgraph to pull the tokens instead of pulling them directly from the contract. This is not as decentralized as I would wish, because this subgraph is obviously controlled by the team. It is developed and maintained by us. However, everyone can set up their own version. We will publish the source code once it's completed, but it will greatly speed up the process. So currently we are working on this. The implementation of contracts is ready and they are deployed. The source code is published in our repository on GitHub. You can review it. You can deploy your own auto-listing contracts without any problems, as long as they are configured to communicate with the registry. We will read your events and everyone who will integrate your smart contract, your auto-listing smart contract in the UI will be able to pull the tokens from your contract, and they will be cached by our subgraph as well. So we are setting up a system where everyone can create their own auto-listing contract with their own rules. So if you create your contract, it can be not as auto as our contracts. It can be just a listing contract where you list tokens. You can charge your fees for this, or you can just build a list of tokens with some predetermined rules. You can enable yourself to add new tokens and restrict it from everyone else. So it will be your personal listing contract. So next topic is ERC-223 addition to the Ethereum documentation. I can say a few words about Ethereum governance in general, because this small but important step took me almost a year to finish. I started the process of adding this to their documentation in August 2023, and now it's almost July 2024, so almost a year. Ethereum is an open platform. Everyone can contribute virtually to the Ethereum development by submitting proposals. They have an EIP system, Ethereum Important Proposals. It is open, it is hosted on GitHub, it has some fixed rules written in EIP-1, and there are people who govern this process, and they have some rules that they have to obey. They should review all the EIPs, they should push them to the new status as it is written in EIP-1, and everyone can submit EIPs, and as soon as they are reviewed, they will be moved to the new state. However, there is Ethereum.org website where the Ethereum Foundation and some Ethereum developers are hosting the information about the state of Ethereum, its ecosystem, and they are adding some exchange features, the decentralized applications to this page so that everyone can observe it. The ERC-223 is a token standard. It's EIP. ERC is basically a form of EIP that affects the application level things, because there are some EIPs that modify consensus, and they are called EIPs, and application level standards are called ERCs. ERC20, for instance, is application level. ERC721 is also application level, and there are some other ERCs. So we are adding ERC-223 to the documentation on the ethereum.org webpage, which doesn't have these strict rules that they have to obey. And I was proposing to highlight the problems of ERC20 standard in the EIP, like write it directly in the text of the ERC20, that this standard has a security flaw, and all the developers who implement it, they need to acknowledge this. And ideally, they should either use a different standard or implement some band-aid to fix the consequences of the issue. I have some tensions with Ethereum developers who don't want to highlight a problem for some unknown for me reason, but they don't want to call it a problem. And in the text of the ERC-223 proposal, it is written that this proposal is specifically created to solve the problem of ERC20 that caused multi-million losses on Ethereum ecosystem. So they kind of don't like it. But they have some rules that they have to obey. And in the EIP process, this works well. The ERC-223 is finalized. It is added to all the places where it should be. But in Ethereum.org page, where is the documentation that all the new developers are reviewing, there are no strict rules that they have to obey, and they can do whatever they want. So we were able to convince them that adding a new standard and at the same time they have added a warning message to ERC20. It was in the same pull request that we sent them. So they did add the warning message to the ERC20 standard, and ERC223 is now added to the web page as well as EIP repository. This is important for us because we are building a decentralized exchange for tokens of a new standard, and the recognition of the standard is beneficial for us as more people may engage with our exchange if they adopt ERC223. This is important for the whole ecosystem, I would say, because the financial damage that ERC20 is dealing is still quite high. The problem is still not solved, and there are at least $100 million worth of tokens lost, and we are continuing to fight this issue. Our next mainly important step is to create an exchange for tokens of different standards like ERC223 that can be used as a replacement of ERC20. But we need to convince everyone in the world to stop using ERC20 and start using different standards, which is not going to happen overnight. And we are preparing for the long game in this area. And we need to define the process of upgrading the tokens, because as you may know, ERC20 is the dominant standard in the Ethereum ecosystem. It was created in 2015, and since this moment, almost 9 years, it was never replaced by anything. It is the worst standard that could be created, because it was created in the earlier stage of Ethereum, where there were a lot of bugs and restrictions and limitations on the EVM, and nowadays standards are more advanced, but the ERC20 is still the main one in use. Why? Because we don't have any upgrading processes. If you will start using some new standard, if it is not backwards compatible with ERC20, and even if it is compatible with ERC20, you will have a lot of problems. So those developers who are not focusing on token standards and they just need to have some token for some reason, mainly for the money grab, they raise money and give tokens to the investors. They are not interested in these security features and the internals of the token standards. They just want to raise money as easy as possible, and it is definitely easier with ERC20 as long as there is no centralized upgrading procedure governed by Ethereum Foundation or officially released by Ethereum Foundation. And we are trying to create this official upgrading process. I have written the EIP for the token converter. The token converter is a service that converts tokens of one standard into another. This my converter converts ERC20 tokens to ERC223 tokens without any restrictions on one-to-one ratio, so that for each ERC20 token you get exactly one ERC223 token, and you can convert them back from ERC223 to ERC20. This is important to make these tokens of different standards to coexist for some time. We are trying to invent a new paradigm that before you had just tokens. So you had USDT. USDT is a token. And now you will have two versions of each token. There will be ERC20 USDT and there will be ERC223 USDT. This is a new version of upgraded USDT that you can use. And it is created by the token converter. Everything of these ERC223 tokens will be created by token converter. So we can trust them because the token converter is officially endorsed by Ethereum Foundation thing as soon as it's adopted through the EIP process. it already has its number, ERC-7417, and it will be our next step to finalize this proposal and give it the official status. For this, we are closely communicating with the Ethereum Foundation and their developers and the managers of the EIP process. And as you can see, we have already achieved some results in this area, which will help us to build this upgrading system for the future. So I think that's it. I covered mostly important milestones for this month. I'll write a more detailed report with some technical insights on 4th July. So you are welcome to review it and comment it, and it will be published on GitHub gist. You can write down comments and I'll go over them and review everything that is written there. Or you can ask your questions in the Telegram channel of Dex223.
Thank you. And well, you can also ask directly your questions here during this Twitter space. Don't hesitate to raise your hand here if you have any questions for Dexaran. And thank you again for covering all the major news for this month. We've had, of course, the warning added to ERC20 on the Ethereum documentation. Also, ERC223 being re-added was a big milestone. Also, the auto listing feature almost complete, margin trading UI, and of course, the prototype. Of course, regarding the prototype, we've had many videos posted on our ERC223 channel on YouTube for Dex223. You have all the tutorials needed there to explore the prototype, how it works, how you can add ERC20 liquidity, convert, and much more. So check out the YouTube channel of Dex223, and we have many videos there to help you discover the testing prototype. And of course, we've had Darboy on our comments asking about the recording of this Twitter space. And since the last one, we are publishing all our recordings of our monthly recaps on our YouTube channel as well, Dex223. So you can check it out there. It will be published late today or tomorrow at the latest. And you can discover there the whole monthly recap. If you don't speak English, that's fine, because you can have the translation, the automatic translation, which works very nicely now on YouTube to discover the monthly recap in your own language. So don't hesitate to check it out later. Again, the channel is ERC223 for Dex223 on YouTube. And well, if you have any questions, you're also welcome to post it directly on the comments of this Twitter space, as well as raising your hand to ask your questions directly to Dexaran. And as he said, you are also welcome to join our Telegram at any time. We have many different ones in different languages where you can participate in the community, the testing of the prototype, and just ask any question you'd like. We have gathered some of your questions so for this month, and the first one was regarding the testing of the prototype, of course, asking, do people get rewarded for their test feedback? If yes, when does it start, how it is done? Are there any plans to incentivize testing for the prototype, Dexaran?
We don't want people to start grinding bug reports or like inventing something that they pretend to be an issue, but in fact it is not, and overwhelm our team that is actually reporting bugs at this point, because we have limited time. And for this, right now, we are not planning any rewards for the testing of the prototype at this point, but we will most likely implement some testing reward system once margin trading is ready and released. We will probably reward some of the active participants of the testing directly, because we know who reports bugs, but we don't want to launch a public campaign with some set rules, because people will start trying to game these rules for their financial advantage, and this is okay, but it may overwhelm the testing team and the development team with false reports, because people will pretend that they reported a bug. So for now, we are keeping the records of who reported what, but we will release the rules of who will be rewarded and who will not be rewarded in the future at the stage of margin trading.
Roger. And another question was about the prototype videos. So from the community, we've had many feedback regarding those clips, how to add liquidity on ERC-223 and more. And they've watched it, they loved it, and said, can we expect more of those videos? As you said earlier during the show, we are indeed going to have other videos regarding the auto listing feature. I'm sure you can expect many more videos just like this one. And another one question was, can we expect more videos maybe from the team or yourself regarding the philosophy of Dex223 and its members? This is more of a long-term question, of course. Right now, we are all focused on the testing and coding of Dex223. But for the long run, can we expect maybe someday some videos about the philosophy of Dex223, about also the transparency of the crypto market in general, decentralization, and can we maybe expect, for example, a Telegram discussion chat dedicated only to decentralization discussion apart from Dex223?
This is a very good question. I actually think that this is a good idea to have more engagement with the community, because I was not doing a great job in this area. I was mainly focused on the smart contracts and governing the development, but currently I finished the most important tasks on the smart contract side, and I'm planning to be more involved in promotion. Most likely, we will focus on Ethereum community at this point. I have some ideas of the articles that we need to write down for the Reddit and maybe some other sources, because we already have some community, but we need to expand it with new users. And to get the new users, we need to go to the community that already has users. And we are building a DEX for Ethereum, so it's the most logical thing to do is to go to Ethereum community and represent ourselves there. There is quite huge gatekeeping on the Ethereum side. They don't like what I'm writing, because for the past 7 years I was writing how they are doing it wrong with the ERC20 standard. But we will try a different approach in this time, and maybe we will get some results. Regarding the videos, I think it's a good idea. We will certainly have some explanatory videos, as I am planning to release a video about the margin trading and all the how-to videos, short ones. This is a must-have. We will definitely have them. Regarding the philosophy of the project and general conditions of the crypto market, I have a lot to say about it. I have some experience to share, because I was a core part of Ethereum Classic team for some years. I've observed the governance, what works, what doesn't work. I was closely working with Charles Hoskinson, the founder of ADA Cardano at some point, and I have a lot to say, but this takes time. And it is not directly related to Dex223, so I will try to incorporate it in my activity, but no promises at this point. Regarding the decentralization, we are building the most decentralized exchange in the market right now, so yes, we need to discuss why decentralization is important and how it impacts the lives of users. Because decentralization is a nice and fancy word, but how is it important and for what is outside of the scope of most discussions where this word is being used, and we need to highlight it. Regarding the philosophy of the project, I think that I kind of explained it already a few times, but why not? We can do it one more time with more details. And regarding the discussions in Telegram, I'm not in favor of creating a new channel. Definitely, we don't need to create thousands of channels and have the same people in different channels. But we need to increase the activity in our Dex223 channel. I was not actively responding to messages there while I was busy with the development part. And we can have a written AMAs, we can have some discussions, we can make our team members to interact with the community as well. I'm not in favor of letting the developers speak on behalf of the project, because the developers have better things to do. They are actually building the stuff with their own hands. But we have some people who can share opinions or their experience, because they have totally different areas of responsibility than me. The UI developers, the developers who integrate the ERC-223 tokens in our exchange, and how it is different from ERC20 experience from the point of view of the UI developer and people who work with tokens, and in general, how they perceive the project they are working on. So it might be helpful. But we definitely need to encourage discussions in the Dex223 discussions channel. And I think that we will make some steps in this direction. I've already discussed it with Randall, so we are considering it already.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks. And another question we've had from the community this month was regarding the DEFCON 7, if there's any news and your appearance there.
Yes, they have released the update on the web page that they are going to start collecting requests for speakers in July. We keep an eye on them, and as soon as they will start selling it, or maybe they are not selling it, not sure what conditions we should meet to attend it, but as soon as they will start accepting proposals, we will apply as a speaker. And they're already selling tickets via the auction. So if you want to attend DEFCON 7, you can buy a ticket as a listener. But we're interested in a speaker position. So in July, I think we will have a more detailed update. And I hope we can represent ERC223 there. And ideally, we should have two speakers, one for Dex223 and one for ERC223, because those are different things. And I'm not sure that it is allowed. I think it will be related to how much other speakers want to attend DEFCON, because they have a fixed amount of time. If they will have more speakers than the time that they can allocate, they will be gatekeeping quite heavily. And if they will have less speakers than the time that they need to fill, they will be accepting everyone. So we can have 2, 3, 5 speakers of ERC223 and Dex223. Let's see.
That's great news. Looking forward for more information on July then. Perfect. And another question from the community. Of course, there's been much discussion since ERC-223 has been re-added to the Ethereum documentation. And one was regarding, well, your personal feeling about all this. How about the overall direction of ERC-223 now that it got re-added to the Ethereum documentation? We have also the launch of the prototype. Are things finally changing for Dex223, maybe in your favor? What do you think the Ethereum Foundation changed their minds? How do you feel about the overall turn of events?
Ethereum Foundation is not a solid organization where they all have a single opinion about all the things around them. This is a big organization where different people work, and some of them support what I'm doing, some of them are not supporting it. So we definitely have some allies on their side, and this time this is a win for us. But in general, nothing changed that much, and I don't think that the general position of Ethereum Foundation changed, but they are starting to pay attention to the problems that I'm highlighting. So regarding my personal feeling about it, I've started working on ERC-223 when I discovered a bug in ERC20 standard in 2017, maybe like 7 years ago. At this point, I told them the ERC20 was not finalized. It was just a proposal to become a token standard. It is developed by Vitalik Buterin and Fabian Vogelsteller, the guy behind Luxor project. I told them that there is a critical bug in your standard and you kind of have to withdraw it. They said, no, we are not doing it. And I wrote a number of articles on Ethereum Reddit regarding how bad this thing is going to be and that it is going to cause financial damage. And during the next 2 years, so in 2018, more than $2 million were lost. At that point, it was quite a huge amount of money, and now we have hacks that impact thousands, not thousands, hundreds of millions of dollars. But at that point, $2 million were quite a lot. And in general, $2 million are not a small amount of money to prevent the loss. So this happened. And I was trying to convince them for some time that using a standard with a critical security vulnerability is not the best idea in the world, and you kind of have to replace it. And at that point, they had two options. They could say, yes, we have a problem in the standard, we are withdrawing ERC20, or we don't recommend using it, you should use different standards, we recommend all the tokens in our ecosystem to upgrade. There were like maybe 50 tokens at that point, on 70, not thousands like today. And they had a second option to ignore the problem, and they chose to ignore. They simply pretended that this is not big enough to pay attention. And today we have more than $100 million lost because of this decision. And I was trying to fix it. I created the ERC-223 standard. The main idea behind the standard is to fix the vulnerability in the ERC20. And I wrote a number of proposals. I wrote a proposal on GitHub that says, please replace ERC20 with different standard or retract it from ethereum.org page, because they have examples there. It looked differently in 2017, and this page contained only examples of the multisig, the token, and the DAO contracts. And one of them was the ERC20 token. I was trying to convince them that they are having the example of a critical security vulnerability in a contract in the main web page. They did nothing about it. Today the page is upgraded and it changed, but right now there are a lot of tokens standards and other different things listed on there. So it changed over time. It didn't change because of my proposal. I was trying to give some attention to these accidents. I was writing articles, but they were trying to block it as much as possible. So at some point, I decided that I will go do different things. And in 2019, I switched my attention to EOS, and I was working on EOS for some time. I had my own project. I've built a security auditing organization, and I was engaged in some other different activities. And I came back to the ERC20 problem in 2023 because I thought that it is not possible for such a huge problem to to exist for a long time in a community where a lot of smart people. I thought they will solve it without me. I did my job. I wrote about the problem many times. I did the different standard, and it will be solved eventually without my participation. And in 2023, I was just running a script that calculated the amount of lost money, and it impressed me quite a lot. There were more than $100 million lost. The problem is known. The problem was reported 7 years ago. The solution exists, and nobody is doing anything. And whenever I'm trying to do something about it, they are trying to block it, and they are saying this is either this is not a problem, or you wrote about it many times before, so there's no need to highlight it once again. So I decided that this time we need to be a little bit more consistent, because after all, we are trying to solve a problem that exists, and this is very obvious. You can verify the amount of lost tokens on Etherscan. This is impossible to deny that this is a problem. And I was trying to convince them to change the EIP process, to introduce some security section on every EIP, and add some important data there without any success yet, because I'm not alone in this direction. Many security auditors and security experts support that such section needs to be added, because right now there is security considerations section in EIP, and it is written by the author of the EIP. And it is quite absurd situation where the creator of the EIP is responsible for accepting or not accepting security disclosures or in their proposals. And you tell them, look, there is a security vulnerability in your proposal or the code that it uses. They reply no, and they have the final word. And this is definitely not how it should be in a system where these important things are handled. So I was trying to change this process. We are in another discussion that will take maybe a year to finalize. So my feeling about it is that a huge problem is still not solved, and we are at least working on it right now. And I hope we can solve it this time.
I understand. And this time I'm feeling good about it. Things are changing. Talking about the prototype and testing, what people can do for testing the prototype right now, we've had one question from the community that was, I'm not so experienced in Web3, and I'm not sure how to connect, how to test the tokens, which ones, and what Sepolia Ethereum has to do with the test tokens, for example. It would be great to have a clip covering all the prototype testing options and how to get started. Is there any plan to have a full-on video on how to get involved with the prototype testing options, Sepolia, and more?
Well, this is a good point. I think we need to create some small video regarding testing on Ethereum chain, but if you have any questions or you want to know how to test with test tokens, you can go to the Telegram channel and request your tokens there. I was manually processing the requests, and there were not that much of them, so we decided that there is no point in creating some guideline for 5 or 6 active participants. You can find all the information regarding interacting with Sepolia, setting up your MetaMask to interact with Sepolia, and getting test Sepolia Ethereum in Google. It is not something revolutionary that we are doing here. We are just using a public testnet that the Ethereum community is using for years. So right now we are not going to create some videos, but when we will proceed to the next stages, and when we will be closer to the final stage of the process of testing where we will release the product, we will definitely have one, but not today. Because as I said in the beginning of this monthly recap, we are mainly focusing on adding the auto listing feature right now, not on testing. Testing is ongoing, and while we can work on auto listing and fixing bugs in parallel, we are doing it. But our top priority is adding new features, not fixing bugs, because we will be fixing bugs once the features are complete.
Right, that's great. And we have one last question from the community now. Careful, this is a sensitive question. There may be Dex223 developers listening to our monthly recap. The question is, are you happy with the overall performance of your dev team regarding the solving of the bugs found in this early prototype number 1?
Yes, I'm quite happy with how the development is going. We are moving according to our roadmap, and we meet the deadlines more or less, which is quite extraordinary. Deadlines have a tendency to be pushed when they are reached. And yes, more or less, we are doing fine.
That's great news. And well, that was all the questions we have gathered from all the community discussion groups for Dex223 for this month. Again, for everyone that asked, yes, this recording will be posted on our YouTube channel of ERC-223 Dex223. So you can check out the link. It's in the comments of this Twitter space right now. If you have the link to the YouTube channel, where you'll be able to discover this whole recording for our monthly recap on YouTube. And you also feel free to join our Telegram to ask your questions there. We'll gather them again and have them answered at the next monthly recap. Well, if you have any closing word, Dexaran, for this monthly recap.
Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you every participant of the testing. We received all your reports and your bugs, and we will be addressing them. I encourage people to read the written reports that I'm publishing, because it will contain more technical information, and I will attach some screenshots, which is not possible here. Stay tuned. We will be releasing more videos, and we will be talking about the philosophy of the project, decentralization in general, margin trading, and the importance of what is going on in Ethereum and in crypto in general. This is the direction we are definitely going to go.
That's great. Well, thank you, Dexaran, again for today's monthly recap. Take care, everyone, and we'll see each other again at the next one. Take care and see you. Thanks again, Dexaran.